Big Brothers, Big Sisters of Eastern Missouri, next on City Corner. Hi, I'm Sarah Thompson and welcome to City Corner. Today we're talking with Big Brothers, Big Sisters of Eastern Missouri, which is actually celebrating its 100th anniversary, which is a pretty big deal, and I'm so glad you're here to talk about it. Joining me is Vivian Gibson and Bart Holland from Big Brothers, Big Sisters of Eastern Missouri. So 100 years.
100 years.
100 years. What is that, when you reflect on 100 years of service from one organization, what does that mean?
Well, everybody's always surprised when we say it, first of all, but that's 100 years of serving children and matching them with caring adults to just be a huge part of their lives. So that's significant, and that we're doing it for 100 years means that we've kind of figured out this mentoring thing, and we're pretty successful at it, and we're doing a lot to serve our community.
How do you think the organization has evolved? You know, I mean, growing up, I always knew Big Brothers, Big Sisters, but I mean, has it always been the same in the sense of its mission and its efforts or its composition? How has it evolved over the years?
Well, I think its mission has been generally the same, but it started off as Big Brothers. And it started off 100 years ago with a Judge Thomas Henning, who was pretty upset about the young men coming before him in the courts, and recruited some other friends and associates in the legal community to start it. It was, I'm not sure how many years later, they added girls, and it became Big Brothers, Big Sisters.
You know, I was surprised when I was reading some of the material that I didn't realize that Big Brothers, Big Sisters operates one in 50 states, all states in the U.S., and then also 12 countries internationally. So does it work similarly overseas as well?
Yeah, I believe so. We currently, locally here, are the 6th largest agency, and we have been ranked #1 in quality service for the past 5 years. So, you know, through that evolvement over the 100 years, I think that's allowed us to get to that level of service.
Sure. And, you know, Vivian, you mentioned something, we're doing something right, and I'd also read that Forbes magazine recently looked at Big Brothers Big Sisters and selected it as one of its top 10 charities in the country. And just in terms of its data, its record keeping, its mission, its goals, what do you think when you're saying we're doing something right? What do you think is being done right? Because there's so many nonprofits that have great intentions and they do good work, but to last for so long with such an outstanding record, what is being done right?
Well, we are looking at the data for sure, and we're implementing new ideas and new approaches to mentoring children. More recently, we've added something called ABC. It's an early warning system. ABC stands for academics, behavior, and classroom success. We have about 9 of our staff people embedded in public schools, Big Brothers, Big Sisters room where bigs can go into the school. But the main aspect of this early warning system is that we're looking at all of those things. We're looking at classroom success, and we're being able to predict or to manage what's going on in these children's lives that may not be as obvious on the surface if they're not going to school. And we're not the truant officer calling when they're not at school. We have people calling saying, Johnny's not at school. Is there anything we can do to help? And we're approaching it that way. And oftentimes it's something as simple as mom has to be at work at 6 o'clock in the morning and Johnny has to get himself up and out of the house, and he's not. And it could be as simple as an alarm clock, or maybe a situation has changed at home, or their homeless situations, things like that, where we can get involved to support these children along with their bigs.
Let's talk about and you described some scenarios, but some of the outcomes that result of this mentorship, these relationships. I mean, you probably see an increase in, let's say, graduation rates, or you were talking about truancy. And so talk about some of the sort of known outcomes that are pretty established at this point.
Well, we do these, we look at all of these data points quarterly. So there is an increase in math scores and English scores. Kids are graduating at a higher rate. They're being less disruptive in class. Their attendance is better, and we can document that.
Well, we're looking at some photos of some volunteers over here, and this is really your area within the organization.
Yes.
I mean, are you always looking for mentors? Are you always looking for volunteers?
Absolutely.
There's never a cap on that.
I don't think that has ever changed. That part has stayed the same. We have 1,000 kids on our waiting list. We serve 1,900 in eastern Missouri, but we have 1,000 kids waiting. And it's a managed waiting list. That means that if we take 60 off, we let 60 on, because if we allowed every child who knocks at our door on in every zip code, some of them would just languish there because there are so many kids in certain areas of the city. So we manage that list, and we're constantly getting kids off, but we're not able to get them all off, to eliminate the list, but we can control the length of time that they stay on there. So we're trying as best we can to move them off as fast as possible, and that requires us getting in front of people, telling our stories. So we ask our bigs, the community, the communications industry, media, to get the word out for us, to help us get the word out, and that's the only way we can do it.
So what is the commitment? I mean, for someone who's thought about this or is considering it, what really truly becomes the commitment?
Yeah, I think that's the biggest misconception. I think many people believe that once they get matched with a child that they have to spend, every day with them or once a week with them, and that's not the case. All that we ask is they spend 4 to 6 hours a month with them, usually every other weekend or every other week, and just be there for them to show that they're there as a positive role model. It might be helping them out with school studies. It might just be taking them to ice cream. But just to have that consistent person in their life that maybe they don't get at home. And so it's not a huge commitment whatsoever.
What is the age range of the students or the children served? Because a lot of people might think, oh, I'm more inclined, I can relate better to older kids, high school students versus young ones, or vice versa.
Yeah, the age range is from 5 to 16. We ask that you be part of this relationship for a minimum of 1 year. And that could be until the end of high school. But we have children at every age. But of the children, of those 1,000 that are on the waiting list, about 80% of them are boys. Men don't volunteer, unfortunately, at the same rate as women, and we get more boys coming from single-parent homes headed by females. And so we have more boys, fewer men, and it's really possible for some of those boys to stay there and age out of the program, actually. So my job is to make sure that doesn't happen, that I get the volunteers in the door, and that I'm constantly telling the story. That's my job.
And of those volunteers, and let's say in this case specifically of men, I mean, are you looking for, a certain age who has, they have a job and they have this, like what type of life experiences should the volunteers have that they can then best benefit the little brothers?
Well, I mean, that's a tough one. I mean, we don't have this narrow life experience. We're asking people to be caring individuals. You have to have the time to devote to the child, a minimum of 4 hours a month, a driver's license, a car with insurance. Those are the minimum requirements to make you eligible to apply. And then you go through a whole series of interviews, screening, background check, that sort of thing. And life experience it's all over the place, just like everybody else. And we have bigs from 18 years old to 70. Sure. 75.
Because I was going to say, I mean, I could see a college student or someone in graduate school or someone who's just gotten out who might have more time, or they maybe they're not starting a family and have that free time, but not feel that they have something other than what it's like to go through school to offer that child. But it's really, to your point, I guess, it's just having a committed relationship and someone to help you. Is that pretty much what you're saying?
We have families that volunteer, big families. We have adults with children who manage to work them into their family relationship. We have young professionals. Again, we have empty nesters. So everybody's welcome.
Tell me about big families. I didn't realize that as a family.
That's very new. It's a new approach. Very often when a big gets involved and they do have children, eventually the little gets worked into that family. So it's sort of happened before, but now we've decided that we're going to go after families. So coming into the relationship, if you have a 12-year-old, that 12-year-old is interviewed as well to find out, how do you feel about bringing in another child into this relationship, so that everybody embraces the child from the little from the very beginning. So
where can people go if they are interested in volunteering? Do they just head to the website?
Yeah, our website, www.bbbsemo.org. They can obviously go to the website, apply there. They can give us a call, 314-361-5900, and we'll get them going in the process. It's a very easy process, and we always need volunteers.
Okay, no, that's good. Well, we've got a graphic for that information, which we're going to show you. And when we return from our break, we're actually going to be joined by a big sister, and she's going to talk about her experience. And Bart's going to stay with us as well to talk about some of the affinity groups within the volunteer program as well. So please stick with us here on City Corner.
Spend 15 minutes watching online videos like this one.
Brushing for 2 minutes now can save your child from severe tooth pain later. 2 minutes twice a day. They have the time.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
The odds of this daughter of a clergyman spending 11 weeks at #1 on the U.S. singles charts? 1 in 19 million. The odds of going on to win 6 Grammy Awards? 1 in 1.4 million. The odds of having a child diagnosed with autism? 1 in 110. I'm Toni Braxton, and I encourage you to learn the signs of autism at autismspeaks.org.
Hi, I'm Sarah Thompson, and welcome back to City Corner. Today we're talking with Big Brothers Big Sisters of Eastern Missouri, which is actually celebrating its 100th anniversary, the organization as a whole, nationally. And in the first segment, we talked about volunteering. We talked about some of the institutional facts about the organization. And now we're actually joined by a big sister, Lydia Padilla. Thank you for being here.
Happy to be.
You know, I was surprised some of the stuff that Vivian was saying in terms of just the commitment, the time. It's actually less than I thought it was. But tell me firsthand, I mean, how did you become involved with Big Brothers Big Sisters?
I've been a Big for about 10 years, and next month, I believe, my little sister Rayshonda and I will be graduating out of the program officially. Even though graduating out of the program doesn't mean we stop seeing each other from the experiences I've had with other Bigs throughout the organization. They're lifelong relationships. So I got involved 10 years ago and decided that it was just something that I wanted to do. And Rayshonda was 8 at the time, and now she's 18 and a half. And we have done all kinds of activities over 10 years, if you could imagine what that might look like.
We're looking at a picture of her. So is this a recent photo?
That is.
Yeah. Yeah, so 10 years. So you've known her, I mean, 10 years of her life. And tell me, I mean, what was that relationship like over the past 10 years? What did it consist of in terms of being a mentor?
Well, she's one of 5 children. So she didn't have a lot of opportunity to be with an adult all by herself. So one of the first times we got together, she actually fell asleep. So I didn't know if she was having any fun. But she woke up and she said, it's just
Where did she fall asleep, by the way?
I was painting her nails on my kitchen table because she wanted to do manicures and pedicures. So we were painting her nails at my kitchen table, and she had her arm on her head and she actually fell asleep. And I said, are you tired? She goes, it's just so quiet. I'm not used to it being so quiet. My brothers and sisters are always running around. So it's grown. I mean, you see her graduate from elementary school and going to junior high school and going to high school and become a young woman, and she recently got her driver's permit. So you really, think of how many people you know for 10 years that closely, that you spend from 8 years old. If they're not a niece or a nephew or a next door neighbor, you don't really get to see them grow up in front of your eyes, and I've had a great opportunity to do that with her.
Does it feel like an extension of your own family?
Oh,
I mean, do you hear that a lot?
Absolutely. My husband is also a Big, and he and his little graduated last summer, and his little and mom spend every Thanksgiving at our house with about 28 other family members. So it is very close relationships. And Rayshonda, I've been to probably 7 of their family reunions in the last 10 years, and to school projects at her little sister's school, or to a football game that her little brother is playing in. So you become part of the family, and you get invited to those fun and eventful things, and it's just kind of hard not to when you're so immersed in someone's life, and not a time-consuming way. It's again kind of how it works best for your relationship. But
Sure. I want to talk about the relationship too of other, you refer to them as Bigs, but what we might say is the Big Brothers or the Big Sisters. And Bart, the organization has started kind of these affinity groups within the volunteers, and tell me a bit more about that, and specifically what the foodie group is.
Yeah. We kind of really took a step back about a year ago and really reached out to our Bigs to see what other kinds of things they wanted to take part in besides spending time with their little. And we resoundingly heard that they wanted to spend time with other Bigs, find out other Bigs' experiences. And so we created a new affinity group called the Foodies. And it is a group that Bigs can join, and we hold various different events.
And this is, I think, one of them. It looks like
we hold
a beer happy hour.
Every month we hold a second Thursday happy hour. It's on the second Thursday of every month at a different location, and Bigs can just come and socially hang out with each other. Hear about other experiences that they have with their littles, and other experiences that they have with our organization. So it's really, really proven to be successful that they get to hang out and have a little fun besides what fun they have with their little.
And Lydia, are you a part of the Foodies?
I am. I am the co-chair of the
of
the affinity group. And Becky James Hatter, the president of Big Brothers Big Sisters, came to me about a year and a half ago and said, we've got this idea, and we want to talk to you about maybe spearheading it for us. And so one of the things to add to Bart's comment is, what's great about the affinity group is that non-Bigs are also invited. So if we have an event, current Bigs are encouraged to bring their friends and their coworkers, and to give them an opportunity to get a a little bit of experience and background about what it means to be a big and about the organization and socialize with some other bigs. So it's a recruiting opportunity for us too. So the Affinity group has a few goals, which is fundraising, networking for bigs so that they feel a better connection to the organization in general and a connection to other bigs, and also volunteer fundraising because we have 1,000 people on the waiting list, 1,000 kids.
And so when you are with other bigs and you guys are socializing, what are some of the commonalities you think that in terms of, let's maybe say the rewards of what it is to be a big brother or big sister, what are those stories that are shared? Are they very similar, I would imagine?
You know, all of us have, some of us, for example, the committee, there's a couple in the committee who've been matched for 2 years. I've been matched for 10 years. There's a few who have only been matched for a few months, maybe with an 8-year-old, and it's been 10 years since I was matched with an 8-year-old. So all of our experiences are a little bit different, but it's similar to your own sibling relationship.
I see.
Because you're close to your littles, and it's like, well, when my little and I were 10, what we would do. So you're almost kind of mentoring the newer bigs. And all their interests are pretty similar. Who doesn't want to go to a Cardinals game? Who doesn't want to go to out to eat or make a pizza? I mean, those are fun things that most kids at any age are interested in doing. So we share a lot of ideas about activities that we've done that have been fun.
Yeah, because when we have the photos, I noticed that, I mean, it does range in activities. I mean, it could be something like you said, from going to a Cardinals game to helping with homework. And tell me again specifically with your relationship, you mentioned like 8 years old, but how did that change, let's say 13, or 16? I mean, did you start going to concerts, or I don't even know?
It got a little more interesting in some aspects where all of a sudden we didn't have to only go to PG movies. So I'm like, well, this is going to be a little bit more fun for me to not only go to PG or Disney movies. So that changed a little bit. But, Rashonda is now 18 and a half, and you have adult conversations, and she's had some adult experiences in the last couple of years. So it goes from talking about, I remember she told me when she was maybe 9 or 10, she said, I think I want to be a truck driver when I grow up because I really want to travel around and kind of see America. And I said, well, good. Well, let's talk about what it would look like to be a truck driver. They sleep in those trucks, right?
Right.
And they don't get to be home for people's birthday. So our conversations change. But Rashonda and I think one of the important things as a big is, I would say, well, I always have to be doing something. Like, we have to be doing something fun or interesting or exciting, something she's never done. But that, I think, from our relationship was unrealistic. We have errands to run, we have cars to get washed, we have dry cleaning to pick up. And I just started taking her along with me on my weekend or weekly errands that I needed to do, and we'd grab lunch in between or maybe grab a movie in between. But we'd grocery shop and prepare some lunches for the week and maybe prepare a dinner she could take home to her family so she could learn how to cook. So it's regular things that you're doing in your life that need to get done that you just involve them and include them in as a part of it.
I think what's so interesting about this overall is when you look at it, it's how do you measure impact? And we don't always look at the little things that we do with consistency as having a huge impact, when in fact, that actually is, So if you just have that one moment in your life where you're like, I volunteered at this, and you don't ever do it for 10 years, you just did it one day for 4 hours, versus I think what you're saying is just the little things that over time has sort of immeasurable impact. Is that kind of at the core of what you try to get across?
Yeah, and these kids just want somebody in their life, and it is those little things that makes the most impact in their life. They're getting to experience some experiences that they may never ever get to experience, and it's people like Lydia that take the time, and it may be something as easy as picking her up and taking her to the grocery store that really impacts the child's life.
Well, I'd ask you, Lydia, what your kind of reward was of doing this, but what do you think for your little sister? If she were here joining us today, and if I said, what's been the reward for you, what do you think she would say?
Well, she's told me several times, and littles and bigs get interviewed at least once a year about how the match is going. And even after 10 years, they're always getting input from the bigs and the littles and the moms or the grandparents or the guardians of the children. And one of the things that I'm always proud about that Rashonda says is that no matter what, I know I can call her. If I've been bad, if I've been good, if I'm having a great day, if I'm having a bad day, I know I can call her.
That's really great. Well, we're going to go ahead and wrap things up. I did want to ask you, you have something for alumni volunteers. Do you want to mention that quickly?
Yeah, we've really recently started over the past couple of years reaching out and trying to find our alumni. So we would love it if anybody has ever been involved in our program over the past 100 years and have gone on to grown up, whether it be a little or bigs that were involved. We would love for them to recontact the agency. We're starting to do a lot of different things with our alumni and starting an alumni program so that we hope that they might one day want to come back and volunteer or just get involved somehow with our agency.
Mm-hmm. Well, no, thank you for sharing that. That's important. And you mentioned too, but not, we're saying congratulations for the anniversary. Congratulations on your graduating. Before we go, what comes next then? I mean, do you become a big sister to another little, or do you just continue your relationship with Rashonda? I mean, how does this typically work out in the end?
Both, and yes, I'll become a big again, and I'll continue on with Rashonda just as nothing has changed. I just will have to give my car insurance information on a different little than Rashonda now.
Yeah.
So yes, both things will happen.
Okay. Well, thank you for being here and thank you for sharing. It's really interesting. I learned a lot today. I really did. So thank you so much, and thank you, Bart.
Thank you so much.
And from our first segment earlier, thank you to Vivian. And if you want more information, we have it there for you. We'll put it up on the screen, and you can contact Big Brothers Big Sisters, or just go to their website if you want to look for more information, see some testimony, see what it's like to just get involved at any level, or you can call the phone number there on your screen. Well, thank you very much for joining us here on City Corner, and please keep it right here on STL TV Experience St. Louis.